All right, going live here. Give me a second to get set up. Dan Claps here, CEO of Voda Cleaning and Restoration. I teach people how to start and scale their own home services franchise business. And we're going to be talking today about what to look for in a home services franchise. If you're trying to find one, maybe you want to get into business for yourself. Maybe you want to do something on the side, or maybe you want to do something while you're currently working. And we're going to talk about that. Just give me a second here while we get ready. People are joining. Um, all right. Let's get the slide deck live. All right. Cool. Let's get going. So Dan Claps here, CFE, certified franchise executive, CEO of Voda Cleaning Restoration, also the co-founder. And I teach people how to start and scale home service franchise businesses. And we're going to be talking about that. Why am I qualified to do that? I've been in the franchise space for over a decade, highly regarded in this space. I'm a CFE, as I mentioned. I was able to build my previous business for about 7 years before selling it to private equity. And really what I'm good at is building a business that runs without being in the day-to-day, right? If you want to be a business owner, there's no reason to own a business and then go working every single second of the day. It's actually a misconception that business owners work all these crazy hours. Yes, struggling business owners do, or people that haven't learned how to scale. But there is a reality where you can own a franchise and own a business and not work every single second of the day. You can have normal hours and eventually maybe even work a lot less. Now, a little disclaimer, I'm not saying you're going to buy a business and tomorrow you're going to sit on a beach and, drink coconut water while you, run a business. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can build a business and buy a business, build it, and eventually be less and less involved in the day-to-day of the business. So let's call it the goal is to own a home services business while limiting being in the day-to-day, with the goal of eventually completely being out of the day-to-day of your business. How can I help you with this? My journey to here is a journey of 1,000 miles. If you want to learn how to not build a business, how to not scale a home service company, you could go back. I wish I documented my journey in college. I could teach you how to not build a business because I made every single mistake you can make. I always tell the story. How you do anything is how you do everything. Back when I started out in business, I had this mindset, very clear mindset, which was this idea of, basically, if you want a job done right, you got to do it yourself, right? I thought I had to do everything. And so I built a business that I did everything. And I eventually learned that the only way that you're going to succeed in business and scale yourself is when you understand the concept that you do not, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, right? You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, meaning the better your systems are for doing things and running a business, the more it will run without you. If you don't have playbooks or standard operating procedures and you don't have a way of doing things, you don't have things documented with video content and how-tos and teaching your team, you'll never be able to scale a home services franchise. We're also going to be talking today about how you pick a good home services franchise. Maybe if you're listening to this, you're thinking about all kinds of different franchises. That's great. My content's going to be centered around, if you're interested in owning a home service franchise, things you can do to evaluate an opportunity. And I always start with this slide. How do you make good decisions? You make good decisions through experience. How do you make bad decisions? How do you get experience? You have bad decisions. I made all the bad decisions in running a business. In college, I had a staffing business. And if you want to learn how to not build an asset, go back and watch me there. I could write a book on how to not build a business, because back then I made a lot of mistakes. After that business in college, I went into the franchise industry in 2014, built a part of a franchise. I was helping people buy and sell businesses. It was a great business, but guess what? Year and a half into it, realized I again was not building a business. I was the whole business. I'll never forget a friend of mine. She got married. I went to the Bahamas for the destination wedding. Everyone had a great wedding. Everyone stayed Monday. Everyone was hanging out on the beach. I'm up in my hotel room looking out the balcony at the beach with everyone having fun, because I have to work. Because if my phone rang, I had to answer it because I was the business. There's a great book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he talks about these 4 quadrants. Let me actually pull up a graphic of it. And he talks about these 4 quadrants. I'll show you real quick. He talked about these different quadrants. You've got, a business owner, you've got an employee, you've got self-employed, you've got a business owner, and you've got an investor, right? So, excuse my misspelling here, but anyway, you got an employee, business owner, self-employed, and investor, right? So what's a employee? You have a job, right? You have no leverage. You're leveraging, you're trading time for money. It's kind of like renting, right? You have to trade your hours, which is like money, for a paycheck, which is like your apartment, right? You're trading dollars, time for dollars. That's a job. You have zero leverage, and you're trading time for money. After that, you're self-employed. Self-employed down here in the second quadrant is you own a job. You have a boss, which is just you, but you have to work every single day. You're still trading time for money. And 95% of the population that is not an employee is self-employed. And maybe it's a lawyer, maybe it's a dentist, maybe it's a doctor, maybe whatever. You're doing the day-to-day work though. You're not a business owner, you're self-employed. I would argue I'd rather be an employee than be self-employed. I've been self-employed, it sucks. After that, you got business owner, right? 95% of the wealth in America and I think around the world, the income comes from being a business owner. So most self-made billionaires and millionaires are business owners. You own a system. You're no longer trading time for money. You're trading value for money, right? You're trading a system, whether you work 40 hours, 80 hours, or 2 hours. If your system is providing immense value, then it doesn't matter how much you work, right? The business runs without you. I would say be the least important person in your business, meaning the business should not be like you're the star of the show. You want to be the least important business person in the business. And you do that through scaling the right org chart, which we'll talk about. And then you got an investor. Investor is someone who trades, money for money, right? This is the best. Only 5% are this. This is the best, quadrant to be in. Right now I'm kind of hovering between business owner and investor. I'm obviously a business owner and I also invest, but eventually you get to the point that all you're doing really is investing. And that's another thing, but we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about business owner. So going back to my slides here, enough about my background. I'm qualified to teach you on this. And what my company does is we help you own your own home services franchise. But anyway, and last thing, this was me when I got out of high school. You see my friends here. We all graduated. They were excited about being out of high school. I was like Ari Gold here. I had my gown off and with my Guido sunglasses. I was already making calls, starting my business. Got right at it, starting a business. But all right, so let's talk about it. You want to scale a home services company? Here's what you need to do. You need to find a home services franchise that has these 4 pillars. And we call these the 4 pillars of support. The 4 pillars center around lead generation, hiring, support, bookkeeping, KPI management, and ongoing coaching. I actually just put out a video today around the 4 pillars of scale, which center around people, systems, lead gen, and KPI management, which we'll talk about. So first thing you need to do is you need to have lead generation dialed in. If you want your franchise business to run without you, you're going to have a way to get customers that isn't you. Like I love when I talk to someone that owns a business, they say, how do you get customers? Oh, they all know me. They love me. I'm Tom the plumber. They love Tom's plumbing. I go out, I shake hands, I do that. That's not a business, right? The second you stop doing that, you're still self-employed. You're the sales guy, right? You need a predictable, automated, and scalable way to generate leads. It has to be a way that runs with or without you, right? It has to be a way that people want to engage with your business, not just you. Now, I'm not saying don't build a personal brand. That's a whole different story. Personal brand is key in 2024 and beyond. But you need to have a dialed-in lead generation system. Now, I've talked of a few ways in other content. I'm going to reiterate. There's only 4 ways to generate leads as any business. You've got one-to-one warm outreach. This is where most people start and never leave. That's a realtor. That's calling on friends and family. That's a influencer. That's not putting down realtors, but that's someone that's like, they're working their warm audience, one-to-one. They're calling, they go to BNI, they network, they go to Chamber of Commerce, they get a referral, they call the referral's warm because it came from someone they knew, right? That's one-to-one warm outreach. The second lever that you can pull in lead generation is, one-to-many warm outreach, right? Again, using influencers is a great example. Like, the people that sell like dietary supplements or like It Works or like MLMs, local level marketing. That's a great example. They do a lot of one-to-many warm outreach, right? What they do is they post on their Facebooks and their Instagrams to people that know them trying to sell whatever they're selling. So that's one-to-many warm outreach. Then you've got one-to-one cold outreach. One-to-one cold outreach is, direct mail, lots of direct mail, cold email campaigns, cold calls, reaching out to cold traffic one-to-one at scale. And then finally, you've got one too many cold, but this is your most scalable. This is paid ads. This is Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, SEO, pay per click, anything that has to do with advertising to many through a paid advertising. This is the most scalable, most expensive, but the most scalable. You need to have a proven way to do that with great offers and great lead magnets to bring people in. And to recap, I just covered this in a different topic, but for those that have not seen it, a lead magnet is extremely important, right? When you want to generate leads, what you need to do is you need to understand that, number one, who is your ideal buyer, right? Don't think everyone's your buyer. That's a terrible answer. Your ideal buyer should be super granular. It's niched down. Like, for example, you're going to say, my ideal buyer is 35 to 55. They're male. They drive an F-150. They listen to Morgan Wallen. They went to college. They played a sport. They hang out on Facebook, not Instagram, or they hang out on Instagram, not Facebook. They're not on TikTok. You start to really figure out who your ideal buyer is. You make ads that actually make sense to your ideal buyer, right? So again, if I was selling a product that like my ideal buyer is guys in their 40s that listen to Morgan Wallen and drive an F-150 truck, I'm going to run an ad that shows an F-150 and plays Morgan Wallen in the background. I'm going to match my ideal buyer in my ads. Right. I'm going to have a spokesperson or an attractive character that people want to buy into. The attractive character meaning like a charismatic character people want to buy into that looks, sounds, and acts like your ideal buyer. Match that. All right. Number two is you want to think about, where do they hang out? Where does your ideal buyer spend their time as far as platforms? Are they at the mall? Probably not. Are they on Facebook? Are they Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Twitter? Right. For me, I used to think LinkedIn was my best place. My ideal buyer is in my business is on Twitter. I was not doing anything on Twitter. It sucks. I got to catch up now. And by the way, if you're, please follow me, because I have an abysmal, that's my Twitter handle, franchise mayor. It sucks. I have to build that up. But my ideal buyer, for whatever reason, is on Twitter and they're on Instagram. So spend time thinking about where are you going to put the most energy into scaling your business through the right mediums that people are spending their time, the right fishing holes, right? If you're going fishing, you got to go to the right place for the type of fish you're trying to catch, right? So figure that out. The next thing you need to think about when you're doing lead generation is you need to think about the bait that's going to hook your ideal buyer. It's going to hook the fish on the fishing rod, right? And what you need to think about is, what's the offer that's going to get people to want to, hook onto your opportunity, right? So for example, the biggest thing people want to get what's called a lead magnet. They want to get a lead magnet that essentially provides value. It helps them get their desired outcome without even paying any money. Give value before you provide a solution. So to give you an example, if I was a realtor and I was going to list homes and my ideal, lead was someone that was maybe for sale by owner. In real estate, that's called a FSBO. I think it's a FSBO, right? For sale by owner, right? If I knew that I could convert for sale by owners, and that was who I was targeting, maybe I was going to appointments to meet with for sale by owners or calling them or whatever. What I would do is I would create a lead magnet that gives them something of tremendous value for free to help them get to their desired outcome, right? The trick is you want to get people to their desired outcome. And so I'll give you an example. I talk about this a lot in my content. People want to have very specific thing. Let me pull it up. Okay. People want to have a dream outcome. So they have a dream outcome, right? They have this goal they want to get to, and they want to see your ability to provide them with the solution. They have this perceived likelihood of achievement. Like, who's going to give me the most value? Well, the person that's going to give the most value is the one that seems like the highest likelihood of helping them achieve their outcome. And what they're looking for is the company or the service that's going to do that in the smallest time delay. They're going to do that in the least amount of time, right? So they're going to do it in a sense where, it's going to take 30 days or 60 days or 12 days, whatever it is. But which company who's providing the solution is going to do it in the least amount of time? And then finally, how much effort and sacrifice are they going to have to put into getting their desired outcome? And so what you're going to do is you're going to create a lead magnet that essentially shows people value before they ever utilize your service. So going back to the real estate example, what I'm going to do if I was trying to get, people trying to sell their home on their own, I would go and I would say, hey, what's going on? I know you're trying to sell your home. What is it about, why you're looking to sell your home? Oh, okay, great. And why you're not using a realtor? What's your reason for that? Oh, I don't want to pay the commission, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, I get that. Makes sense. Completely understand why you wouldn't want to pay the commission. I'm just curious, how's it going? Like, is it working out? What's the challenges with trying to sell your home on your own? What's working? And then what I would say is, I'd say, look, and I call it the skeptical neighbor, right? The skeptical neighbor, just to put this in before I go into this, think about like if you bought like solar, right? You put a bunch of solar on your house. You're all excited. You got the solar roof. You did the whole thing, and your neighbor comes over for a barbecue, and they're like, "Dude, what the hell is that? You did solar? What the hell did you do solar for?" Like they're like kind of like making fun of you. They're picking you apart, and you're like selling to your neighbor why you did solar so you don't look silly, right? Like that's who you want to be as a salesperson. So going back to the real estate analogy, I'd be like, hey, listen, like it sounds like you don't even need a realtor. I get where you're coming from. I just wanted to let you know, here's a piece of content that I created. This is called, how to sell your home without a real estate agent. I made this for people like yourself. Read this. It's a great way. It's going to give you tips and tricks on how to sell your home. And I would literally make valuable content on, even though I'm a realtor and I want to sell their home, here's literally how to do it on your own. And the truth is most people struggle with selling their home on their own, right? So they're going to use this content. Maybe some of them are going to use the content. It's going to work great. I help them, right? That's awesome. Or they're going to say, wow, you know what? This is actually really freaking hard. In order to sell my home, it's a lot of work. I don't want to do all that because remember value. I don't want to go through all the pain and sacrifice I'm going to have to go through to sell my home, and the time delay and the perceived likelihood of success is so low. So when they're like, I don't want to pay a commission, you're saying, well, listen, your likelihood of selling your home is, and stats sell, right? So it's like stories and stats sell. So it's like your likelihood of selling your home on your own is X%. With a realtor, it's Y%. You're going to get X, dollars for your home. And with a realtor, you're going to get Y dollars. And hopefully you're going to get way more through a realtor than paying the commission. And you show examples of how that's the case in your content. Because what you did was you disarmed them. You're showing them, content around how they could sell their home on their own, the realities of how that'll be hard. Then I would make in the pamphlet like, how to choose a realtor. I'm a real estate agent in this scenario, right? But I'm making, in this hypothetical scenario, but I'm making content around how to pick a realtor, what to not, red flags of choosing a real estate agent, right? And I would give them all that. Who do you think they're going to call if I was able to present them this kind of value, and then they do decide they want to use a realtor? They're going to use a realtor. They're going to use me because I gave the value and didn't try to hard sell them. I gave them value. You want to create in your lead magnets, you want people to feel like you gave them so much value. Like you want them to say, if this is what they're giving me for free, what the hell do I get when I pay money, right? Like if this is what's free, what does a customer look like, right? Like that's the same playbook I use in all the businesses I've ever run. Let me give you a ton of value for free, take it, run with it. And when you're ready for more, reach out. Because what this does when you're running a business in home services or whatever business is it creates this concept of the people that are going to reach out to me for my content are engaged leads. They're not just leads, they're engaged leads. Like you won't hear me asking you to reach out and learn about photo. People will do that on their own, right? Why do I put out content? I enjoy teaching people about running their own home services business. Like for me, I would never make the money I make if I was, not a business owner. I'm not smart enough. Like I'd be a working class guy with a corporate job and I'd be miserable. It's not who I am. Thank God for business and thank God for franchising, which taught me, how to do things like the way that I'm doing. And I want to pass it back. On the back end, obviously, I want to make money. I'm running a business. People that find this valuable, they'll reach out wanting to own their own business, and they can buy a Voda franchise. We've awarded 100 territories across the country in under a year by doing this kind of value-based, thing. And so, yes, I have my intentions, but those people will reach out. And so my point is you want to create content that's so good, that's so helpful, that helps people get to their desired outcome. And like that bait will bring people in. Right. So I'll give you an example of this using the value equation. So what's the value equation? The value equation is this concept of people will buy When your solution shows them the ability to get their desired outcome, that there's a high perceived likelihood of success. In other words, if there's 3 companies, whichever company seems like the most likely to, provide the solution, that the chance of success is the highest, the value will go up. Another part of the value equation is you want to understand that the value will go up if there's less people that can solve it, right? Like if I needed to get a Gatorade and I'm dying, I'm really thirsty, and I go to the store and they're charging $10 for a Gatorade, I'd be like, get out of here. In New York City, it might be $10, but like in general, I don't want to pay that, right? There's plenty of other Gatorade options to go to. But if I was at a baseball game and the only drink I can buy is, the Gatorade in the stands at the store, well, they might be able to charge more, right? If I was in the desert and the only way to drink and hydrate myself and not die is the guy that has the one Gatorade, he comes up, he says, hey, you can drain your life savings on your phone, you can have this Gatorade, I would give him anything, right? I need the Gatorade, right? Value goes up when there's less people that can provide the solution. But don't let that discourage you, because it's only one equation. Remember, the company that can show the person the ability to get to their dream outcome as quickly as possible or as effectively as possible, and you're going to do that through customer reviews, 5-star reviews, testimonials, right? You're going to show them, and through a guarantee. One of the best ways to grow your home services business is through your ads is to do the guarantee, right? So I'll give you an example. Like if I was running ads for carpet cleaning, I'm going to say carpet's so clean that let me actually back up for a second. So you got value is desired outcome, likelihood of success. You're going to give a guarantee. The third thing people care about is the time delay that it's going to take to get somewhere. And then the fourth is they're going to think about the time and sacrifice they have to put in. You want to make that as little as possible. But remember, people will buy from you every single time. Almost everything, I want you to think about this, everything you've ever bought in your life has to do with the desire to do one thing as a human being, which is to increase, other than like, your basic, Maslow's needs, like, you need shelter, you need food and everything else. But outside of that, like we are all programmed to want to increase our status among our friends, families, and peers. We want to increase our status. Everything we do, the shirts you buy, the things you do, the work you do, the house you live in, the cars you buy, like everything has to do with increasing your status among your peers, right? Maybe you don't buy a fancy car. You know why? If you really want it, but you don't buy it, it's because you don't want to decrease your status. Maybe you're thinking about like, I'm going to look like I'm showing off, right? If you do buy a car, you want to increase your status. It's funny. I think about like anyone that does anything, we post on Instagram and everything else, it's to increase our perceived status among our friends, right? That's why we buy anything most times. And so what you want to do in your ads in the lead generation component of your business is you want to essentially educate people on how your product or service will help them increase their status among their friends. So I'll give you an example. This is not home services, but if I was selling golf clubs, right? And I had a golf club that I knew could increase, most people's drive by 20 yards, right? What I would do is I would create an ad that helps them see that this golf club is going to increase their status. By the way, Rolex did a great job of this. Think when the Rolex ads first came out. It was like, you earned success. This watch represents success. Buy a Rolex. It's the tangible manifestation of success among your friends, right? Well, if I was running an ad for golf clubs, and think about anybody who golfs, what do you want to do? You want to smash that ball further than your friends. You want to win the game. You want to increase your status on the country club, whatever. Well, I would run an ad that says, buy this golf club. It'll increase your drive by 20 yards. Your friends will not know what happened. They'll be jealous. It'll be our little secret, right? I'm creating this idea that like you will increase your status by buying this golf club, right? If I'm running carpet cleaning ads, I like to joke like the person that makes the decision in the house, a lot of times, obviously stereotyping, but the stats that we've seen in our business in carpet cleaning is that typically a lot of times the wife in the home makes the decision. Not always, of course, but in just the stats we've seen as an aggregate. And what I've noticed is, don't cancel me or whatever the saying is. But anyway, I've noticed that, what do people, when they clean their floors, like, what do they want to do? They have family come over, they want to have clean floors. And, who do they want to impress? Well, who's the hardest person to impress? Your mother-in-law, right? It's like the house is never clean enough, right? So I'd run an ad that says, carpet's so clean, even your mother-in-law will be jealous, or it's free, which brings me to a point, or it's free. Right? Going back to the value equation, let's show the graphic again. going back to the value equation, right? Which looks like this. And by the way, this is not my content. I'm regurgitating content. Dream outcome, perceived likelihood of achievement, time delay, effort, and sacrifice, right? That's what we were talking about. Well, the idea of perceived likelihood of achievement is saying, I'm so confident in this that if it's not to your liking, it doesn't get you to your dream outcome, then I will give you your money back. Now, I like this. Not everyone likes to do this in home services because they're afraid of like the refunds. In my opinion, statistically, refund rates are about 2%, right? If you obviously you're going to put stipulations, obviously you're not going to let people take advantage of you. But if people are really that unhappy with your service, right? 2% of them, why wouldn't you refund that if doing a money back guarantee increases your conversion by 30 times, let's say, or not 30 times, but 30%. If you got 10 jobs and all of a sudden you're getting 13 jobs, right? And, let's use a better example. Let's say you got 100 jobs, right? And you used to get 70, but now you got 100 because you're doing a money back guarantee. And, 2 of those 100 are a refund. Who cares? Think about how much more money you've made in the long run. You did 100 jobs instead of 70, like in this, pretend math's hard. Hopefully that was right. But anyway, my point is you run a money back guarantee because it increases conversion. That little bit of refund that you may have to do, all that's part of your marketing spend, right? Think about your CAC, your customer acquisition cost, right? If it costs me, $10 to acquire a customer and, I make, $100, and after everything I make, $40, and sometimes I have to refund $10. All right, well, I still made $30 in that, it scales, right? And so running ads or money back guarantees is great too, because in home services, what's going to happen is, hopefully your technicians are paid on performance-based pay. And if they're paid on performance-based pay, meaning they're paid for like success of doing great jobs, they get commissions, etc. Well, yeah, if we have to give a money back guarantee, if we have to give our money back, you're not getting paid either, technician. So this now raises the consequences of helping make sure that they do a great job. This is how you scale, right? If you want to scale, you have to have mechanisms in place that your team is going to work hard, whether you're watching or not, right? Because there's ways people are motivated by money, right? Crazy. I was watching Mr. Beast, and it's like crazy what people do for money, right? He just gives money and more money. It's like the one I just watched, like Squid Games. Like he had 100 people and they got to earn the money and they do anything for the money and they backstab each other. And, people are crazy over money. Well, at the end of the day, use that to your advantage. If you've got a team of people working for you, create a money back guarantee. Your customers will buy more. The lead generation will work better. And you're going to get people. Now, sometimes you may get worse customers that are just trying to scam. I understand that. Don't look at that. Look at the aggregate, that when you run a money back guarantee, you're going to increase people's perceived likelihood of achievement. Now, the other part of the value equation is time delay. You're going to need to cut the time down, right? The less time something takes, the better. Let's use a fitness example. Anyone it's in fitness? Back in COVID times or pre-COVID times in 2019, I was pretty close to buying a gym. I was buying a gym franchise resale. Okay, this gym was losing $8,000 a month. But what I noticed was their lead generation was terrible. And my skill set and background is lead generation. I've been doing lead generation for 10 years. That's what I'm good at. It's what I know how to do. And it's my, kind of my main, passion is what I love is figuring out how to make leads. And so I was like, I could turn this thing around, no problem. We'll run better Facebook ads. We'll have a better sales process. We'll have a better closing process, etc. So I was ready to lose $8,000 a month to eventually make $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month, whatever. And so as I was about to buy the business, and this is actually the story to how I got into home services. As I was about to buy this gym, I was going to scale this thing across the country. My plan was to have 100, of these gyms. And, that was what I was going to do. Fly around in a helicopter, go to little different locations. It was a great goal. And I was going to turn around gyms. And as I'm getting close to closing the deal, I have to work with the landlord. And at the time, what I had said was, my friend is going to be the operating partner. He's going to operate the business. I'm going to put the money. I'm going to do the lead gen. I'm going to provide the strategy. They're going to operate the business day to day. It's a match made in heaven. Well, in this type of equation, you can't have the operating partner needs to have skin in the game. And so I was like, well, they have to be on the lease too. And if I remember correctly, the landlord wouldn't let them be on the lease. They wanted only me on the lease. And there was this whole thing where they were controlling how I was going to structure my deal, which they have the right to. It's their, it's their building. But I remember thinking like, I hate brick and mortar because the landlord's in so much control and they screwed up the whole deal. And we ended up not moving forward. Now, thank God, because 2 months later, 3 months later, COVID hit, and I would have been screwed because I would have had to have personally guaranteed, meaning my personal assets would have had to been, leveraged or, collateralized to get that lease. And then what happens is all of a sudden, I was going to not only be losing 8,000 a month, no one was coming to gyms. I was going to be stuck. I would have lost, 16,000 a month, and I would have really been in a lot of trouble. So thank God I didn't buy that gym. But one of the things that was interesting about it was what I loved about it was this gym, this particular program did a 10-week challenge where they helped people get in shape. And what I loved about it is the average person that works out, there's like only a small percentage of people that work out. And when they go to fill out a form, there's like 15 gyms all trying to get that business. This gym went after the people that didn't work out, that wanted to get in shape, right? Your competition wasn't other gyms. Your competition was the couch, right? Like you had to get them to take action and be inspired to change their life and get in shape. I really liked that because I've come to learn my passion is seeing people go from something to nothing to something. I don't care if you were making $0 and you work for me and you're making more, great. If you were making lots of money, now you're making even more, great. I love being a franchisor because I see people become a business owner and go through all the emotions and eventually hit like the level of success that we want to see for them. I love that. I like to inspire life change. So this gym was cool to me. And what was interesting was, to me, before I bought it, I thought it was a no-brainer to buy this program. Let's talk about it. The person who's overweight that has the interest to solve it, right? They're like going online, they're like, I want to lose weight. I got to lose 20 pounds. Like maybe they got made fun of, or maybe they felt really bad, or they couldn't sleep, or like something's truly was driving them to go to Google and search, how do I lose 20 pounds or whatever? So the dream outcome was so clear. Everybody wants to lose weight. The second thing, what most people want to lose weight. The second thing was the perceived likelihood of achievement. What was interesting to me was literally if you do the program, like if you don't eat a lot of calories, you follow the program of eating, and then you do the workouts they were providing you. I don't care if you do anything, whether it's running, swimming, whatever. If you do workouts and you eat right, and you have less calorie, again, assuming you don't have like a crazy, thyroid problem or metabolism, but let's talk about the average person. If you do the workouts and you eat less calories than you consume less calories than you burn, like you're going to lose weight. So like the perceived likelihood of achievement was like 100%. Time delay it was 10 weeks, which I thought was very reasonable. The challenge was that last one, effort and sacrifice, right? The person, in order to get those results, would have to really sweat it out and put in the work. And like the value wasn't there because you had to hard sell them and push them. And even when they bought, you had to sell them to show up, right? And people show up for a day, 3 days, a week, then they get tired and whatever, and they fall out. So the effort and sacrifice was too much to make the value high, right? Imagine this, like this is unfortunately not the case. And I think one of the reasons that supplement companies were able to sell so many supplements was they were able to create this kind of allure, which I think they still do, which is, I don't think the case, but imagine there was a pill that you could take to lose 20 pounds. And there was testimonials and proof that 98% of people who took it had the results. They lost 20 pounds in under 30 days. And all they had to do was take that pill. Well, if that actually worked, that company would be a multi-billion dollar company, right? The value would be immense. No one else can do that, right? If you figured out, this is a harsh one, but if someone figured out how to cure cancer and they were the only company that could cure cancer, right? And people have this dream outcome of not having cancer and surviving. And there was a 98% chance of it working. And the time delay was whatever, 6 months, a year, whatever. And all they do is take that pill. How much value would that be? That would be $1 trillion business, right? Like value is all these equations. So let's get off this topic and back to where I was talking about. All this had to do with lead generation. I'll have to make a separate live video on just lead generation, but let's move on to the next thing. So how are you going to scale a home services company where, the business runs without you? Well, one of the things you need to look for is, can you find a business that the employees are people that you can find? Like in our business, we have a program called Talent Scout where we help find employees. You need to have a very specific org chart in order to succeed in home service. So let me actually show you my org chart. Just give me a second to pull it up. Because every business it's all about people's, right? I talked about the 4 pillars of scale when it comes down to it comes down to people, systems, lead generation, and KPI management, right? And if you don't have the people component, which we're about to touch on now, then you can't scale a business that runs without you. A lot of people will say, Dan, is this restoration franchise homes, in Voda, is it semi-absentee? And I always give people the same answer, which is we have all the systems in the world, but if you don't have the people to fill the org chart, then no, right? If like a lot of times people think like I'm going to own my own business and I'm gonna do the sales. Well, sales is a full-time job, so it can't. How can you be doing the sales and it be semi-absentee? Like every other company in the world, right, big or small, has a salesperson selling. So if you're the salesperson as the owner, then yeah, you're going to be busier because you're the one doing the sales. If you're doing sales and ops, then you're going to be even busier, right? The more that you have, like, you're doing jobs in the day to day of the business, the more that it's not going to be semi-absentee. If you have a salesperson, an ops person, and a marketing person, and finance and legal, and everyone's tethered to the success of the business, and you're doing all the things the right way, well, that's a totally different story, right? In that case, your business might get to the point that you have almost nothing to do, right? Because you're not, you're not, you're not involved, right? Like, let me give you an example. Um, let me give you an example. I'll use one of my own. Give me one quick second. So So like here's a great example. I'll use my own org chart. This is old and sloppy, but whatever. So like this is the org chart of or in the past when we were a smaller company. You had me, CEO. Notice I don't have any seats, right? You want to run a business where you can focus on strategy and growing the business. You have to understand this concept that the CEO is accountable to everything and to nothing at the same time. I'm going to say that again. As the CEO, you're accountable to everything and nothing at the same time. You're accountable to everything. Everything that goes wrong is on you at the end of the day. Everything that goes right, you can also take some credit for, although you should take less credit. At the end of the day, anything that goes wrong, I don't care if it's Delta Airlines, God forbid the flight crashes, the CEO of Delta is responsible. Down the chain of command, it's still his problem or her problem, right? And so the CEO is accountable to everything but nothing, meaning they're not directly accountable to one thing. What you want is you want to have people accountable to each area of the business: sales, marketing, operations, finance, and legal. So, for example, in my company, Zach, our COO and co founder, he runs the company, right? My skill is the vision, the strategy, the culture, the recruiting, the content, the marketing, the high level sales, putting in relationships, having the ideas. There's a million things I'm doing all day long, and they're all moving the needle for Voda. But I'm sitting in the seat of the visionary, right? And then you've got the integrator, which Zach's amazing at making the business grow and get there on time and keeping the trains on time and showing up to the right destinations. And then you've got, our VP of operations who oversees the operations day to day. And then he's got success coaches and layers underneath the success coaches of more success coaches. You've got a head of the success coaches. You've got a CMO, Christian. He's amazing. He oversees, he's like the CEO of marketing, right? He oversees everything that has to do with the external communications with the world, whether that's employees, teammates, potential customers, franchise owners, whatever. He oversees everything inside of an org chart where he has his own direct reports. And there's this decentralized command that comes up. And then we've got Fran Dev and we've got, all these different things. And the bigger the company grows, the more that org chart grows. But if you're going to run a business, you're going to have to have, a very dialed in organizational chart. And home services, it's going to come down to, all about, the GM and the salesperson. So let's pull up something. 1 second. So I recently made this. We're going to break this down. So your org chart is going to look a little bit like this. You got you, the business owner. You've got your head of marketing, your head of sales, your head of operations, and your head of finance or your head of legal. Now, if you buy a good franchise, a good home service franchise should take off 90% of the marketing of like online marketing should be done for you. So you don't need that, like that marketing head. And then finance should be done through a bookkeeping service. I'll tell you a story. I used to do my own bookkeeping, running a several $1,000,000 business, all these transactions, all these expenses, all this revenue. And I dreaded doing the bookkeeping. I don't know how I did it for so long. And one day I finally spent $2,000 for a bookkeeper, and it literally freed up my time. And you got to think about how much time you have, in your day and what you can be doing instead of bookkeeping. It's ridiculous. I finally hired a bookkeeping. So you need a head of finance. A good home service franchise should give you a bookkeeping service where they reconcile the bank accounts and give you a clean profit and loss. It is not the right use of your time to be doing your own profit and loss statements or your own banking, reconcile bank accounts. Then you got your legal. Legal should be templated, right? The franchisor should have lots of contracts, NDAs, and confidentiality agreements and, non-competes where they hold up and, vendor contracts and a contract for employees and, frameworks really, right? You need frameworks for that. Now, if you have that, you don't really need your own head of legal. So again, a good franchise should take 3 out of 5 buckets off your plate. Head of marketing should be the franchise. Head of finance to a degree is the franchise, legal the franchise. So you got these 2 seats, sales and operations. Okay. First thing I'm going to tell you, do not listen to a franchisor that tells you in their sales process that, the phone's just going to ring. Ridiculous. It's not true. There's no business that the phone just rings. I don't care how dialed in your lead generation is. If a franchisor did not need, someone to do anything, they wouldn't franchise. They'd open up corporate stores. If I didn't need anything for my franchise owners, I'd open up corporate stores. Why wouldn't I? Right? We need a local owner, the mayor of the town that's out there building relationships, networking, because home services, gyms, whatever, they all need that local presence, sponsoring the Little League game and showing up to the BNI, the Chamber of Commerce. That is a necessary need. That is what I consider the business owner should be doing. But then you've got this other area, which is sales. And sales is a full-time job. You should be out prospecting, taking, in my business, we get a lot of business from property managers and plumbers. You should be taking property managers and plumbers out to lunch, out to golf, giving them value, bringing them cookies. That alone is a full-time job. Now, a lot of owners start with that, and that's fine. But don't think you're going to run a business semi-absentee. If you're doing the sales, have a job and you're the business owner. It's enough of a job being a business owner. It's enough of a job having a job and being a business owner. It's enough of a job being a business owner and a salesperson. To think that you're going to be the business owner, have a job, and a salesperson, that's tough. Now, some businesses have really dialed in lead gen. It'll make it easier, but I never really think you're going to scale to the level that you can if you don't have sales dedicated. And so it's such a silly thing to not have a salesperson right away doing prospecting. And by the way, there's nothing better than a CEO, if you're a sales-driven guy, if you're an owner, and a salesman working hand in hand, fist bumping when they close a deal, prospecting, working together. Like, there's nothing better. You should have a salesperson. You have a lot more fun, by the way. It's not fun knocking on doors and going to meetings and getting shot down and being told you're too new and all the rejection you're going to face. Have a sales guy. Do it together and bring them in early, because you're going to build that company together. They're going to be loyal to you because they're going to build it with you. No better relationship than building that company with your executive team early in. Invest in the people early in, and you're going to build a much better company that way. And then you got head of operations. So remember, we talked about the 4 pillars of scale, right? Lead gen, people, systems, KPIs. Well, when it comes to people, the only way you're going to have the most success is by providing people the opportunity to participate in your business. So let's talk about that. I'll never forget when I was selling my previous business, I thought, how the hell are you guys going to run this business? Nothing about it. I thought I was so smart as an entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. I was so wrong. What they did was they came in and they put dedicated people that were dedicated to the specific seats. Instead of me being a jack of all trades and master of none, which a lot of times CEO you are, right? You're kind of a generalist. I know a lot about accounting, finance, marketing, sales, operations, legal, but I don't know it all really well. I know a little bit of each, and that's a good CEO should, right? You should know a little bit of everything. But am I an expert at every single department? No. And so instead, they brought in someone that responsible for marketing, somebody responsible for sales, somebody responsible for operations, somebody responsible for finance, controller, and legal. That is the way you scale. And so when it comes to the people element, though, you need to then tether those people to the business. You wonder why, no one can do it as good as me. They don't care. Well, they don't have an owner's mentality working for you. If you don't have, an owner's mentality in what you do, with the people that work there, they're not going to work hard. So people work hard when they're bought into the vision of what you're doing. And they also work hard like when they can see that vision nice and clear. And when they know that like they're rowing a boat toward a specific goal together. The best owners cast a vision. I'll give you the kind of like every day I wake up and I think about what do I need to do today? And I have very specific things that I look on a piece of paper, a little post-it note. It's on my desk that I look at. And what it says is, number one, my job as a leader is to cast a vision. I have to see that vision so clear that everyone else in the team can see it. I then have to communicate that vision over and over and over. It takes people 7 times to even hear something. So I'm communicating the vision of what we're doing at Voda and Franchise Playbook over and over through video, on the phone, through one-to-ones, on Zoom calls, in emails, in mail campaigns, in our new magazine that's coming out. I'm doing it in Teams messages. I'm doing it again and again and again and again and again until people really know it. And if people in your company, if you own a company, right, they don't know your vision, like that's already a problem. Your job as a leader is to cast a vision. Your second job as a leader is to get buy-in. So how do you get buy-in? The best way to get buy-in is have people poke holes in your vision. Hear them out, listen to them, see if there's things you can do, and get people to buy into the vision. Nobody wants to just be told this is the way we do it and that's it. They want to hear why, and they want to give you advice, and they want you to listen, and then they'll buy in once they know the why behind things. It's like a kid. Like if you tell a kid, don't do that. Why? Because I said so. That's such a terrible response, right? Versus like the why behind it and giving, the why. Sometimes that's necessary, but you know what I mean. And so your second job as a leader is to secure buy-in. Your third job as a leader is going to center around providing resources. That doesn't just mean money. It's like, what do you need, right? Do you need certain technology? Do you need support? Do you need people? I always ask people, what do you need for me to win? What do you need to get your job done? How can I help you do your job? Remember, your job as a leader is to serve, not to be the boss. A boss tells people what to do. A leader works with them. You're there to serve them. You serve your people and they will serve you. Now, there's a great saying in the military, in the Navy SEALs, they say, take care of your gear so your gear will take care of you. It's the same thing. Take care of your people so they take care of you. You want your people to be bought in, take care of them. Give them health insurance if you can afford it. Do health insurance. Do company parties. I see so many home service guys. I don't have time for all that. It costs money. It doesn't cost that much money. Go make some pancakes. Like, what does that cost? Pennies? Like, to make some pancakes and have breakfast and break bread with your people? Like, don't you realize that people for like thousands of years eating together has been the number one way to bond? You can't make pancakes and serve some Box of Joe, Dunkin' Donuts coffee for your people. Like when I was running my own, like go to the gym. That's free. Or maybe it's not free, but it's pretty cheap. Go take your key members to the gym. Go work out. Go get a workout and have a protein shake before work starts. You don't think you'll have a better bond with the key members on your team if you're actually friends? Drew Brees, I saw him at the IFA speaking, and it was awesome. What he said was the best teams he ever played on were the ones that loved each other the most. Like, if you're not taking time to build a team where they actually care about each other, then that's your first problem. One of the things I know for a fact that I'm good at is building teams. And, it's interesting. I don't care how much it costs to build a team. I don't care if you say to me, why are we bringing our whole team to this event? I want everyone there. Everyone's there. We're going to have fun. We're going to eat, have some drinks. We're going to golf. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. The real relationships are not made on this Zoom camera. The real relationships are made in person, right? The ability to talk through conflict is made when you have a real relationship and you actually care about each other. At Voda, we call it to be caringly candid, right? I care about you so I can be candid and tell you what you're doing wrong or right or whatever. And so your job as a leader is to provide resources and build that team. Your fourth job as a leader is to hold people accountable. Remember, you build relationships, so then you can tell people how it is. One of the worst things as an executive is not telling people when they're screwing up. You have to be able to tell people when they're letting you down. When you build a good team, the team will tell each other that they're letting each other down because they're all going to care. It's like playing on a team, right? If the team wants to win and somebody's not showing up to practice, they're going to call them out. When I played on sports teams and I was slacking, my fellow teammates would say, like, dude, like, get it together, man. Like, what are you doing, right? Or we're going to have to take you out of that role and put someone else in, right? Because your business is not a family. right? Can be dysfunctional. Families are, you can't leave your family. You make decisions from the heart, not logic, which is fine. But we're a sports team. When you're building a business, you're building a high performing sports team. If I keep throwing the ball to you and eventually you stop catching it, I love you, but we got to take you out of the game. Like, we need the person that's going to make sense to win the game for the team, for the greater good. And so your job is to hold people accountable and tell them when they're making mistakes. But remember, they may not realize, you may not have communicated your expectations. So work hard to communicate your expectations. And then the fifth final job as a leader is to be a cheerleader. It's funny. I was at my birthday on Saturday. I was having some friends, and we were joking around that, like, the average person is, especially guys. I'm stereotyping. Everyone deserves compliments, but I feel like the average guy is, like, so starved for compliments. Like, when do you really get a compliment? I never get compliments. And it's like, people love being complimented. You got to remember your job as a leader. If you're a great boss, you're a great, leader. People, like, take your words with a lot of weight. It's like a parent, right? Like, if you say something, it's going to have a lot of weight to it. Right. So it takes 2 seconds to say, John, hey, I noticed you've been staying late and you're working really hard. I noticed you've been reading a lot and, really just working on improving yourself. And that doesn't go unnoticed, man. You're doing great work and I really appreciate you. That takes 10 seconds to do. Just call out nice things people do. If they're showing up early, hey, I noticed you're showing up early. Like, that's great. Like, thanks. What's driving you to do that? Like, work with your people. Show them you care. It takes 10 minutes to do. If you don't care about the people, find new people. Find people you actually want to be around to work with. Like, my team, I love working with them. You got to care about the people you work with. So that's, like, in the levels of scale. We've talked about lead generation. We've talked about people. Oh yeah, when the people thing, with all the things I just said, you also should tether them to the success, especially your GM, your head of operations, whether they're your COO, GM, operations manager, whatever you want to call them. The person running the business day to day, treat them like gold. Give them what they need. Give them some equity. Do a vesting equity schedule. What's a vesting equity schedule? It's where equity scales over 3 years. Maybe you say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you 10% of the business. You get a 3%, a 3%, 3%. We'll get you, 3.3% per year. After 3 years, you have 10% of this business. Obviously, you stay with us and you're doing a great job. Maybe it's 30%. I always say, would you rather have 100% of a grape or 80% of a watermelon? I'd rather have 70% of 10 watermelons, meaning I have operating partners running the businesses 30% out, but I've got a bigger, vision, right? And so my opinion is, give people the opportunity to be an owner in your business, have equity in your business, take distributions together. If you sell the business, they have a retirement strategy. If you're not thinking about how to make your people rich, like, then you're not a good leader. Like, you should be thinking about your people. I was thinking about, I have a member of my team that has really high aspirations. Their vision is big for themselves. If my vision can't be big enough to provide the platform for them to achieve their vision, then eventually they're going to leave, right? And they're going to go to a bigger company with the owner that had a bigger vision. Like, your job is to have that big vision, that what they call your BHOG, right? Your big, hairy, audacious goal. And so if you want to scale, you're going to have all of these components. You're going to have the lead generation dialed in. You're going to have the people, dialed in. And I highly recommend those vesting equity schedules with key people. You're going to need to have, I'm losing track here, your systems dialed in, your scopes, your standard operating procedures. You're going to need to have documents and videos. Every time you do something, take a video of how you're doing it, a screen share, put it together into a university or to a library. So the next person you hire can utilize those playbooks. And then finally, KPIs. You're going to need to have key performance indicators. I've spent a lot of time, we're coming up on time here, on leads and people. Our next one we'll talk about KPIs, the key performance indicators that you should follow, and what I call a TIF, the important few key performance indicators that you should be following. We'll get more into that. Let me put my content here in case anyone wants to continue learning from me. My subject matter is how to scale a home services franchise empire. So I'll give you, if you're looking into franchises, here's my podcast. I would love for you to subscribe, hit the like button, show me a little love. I'm trying to spread that podcast. We got like 130 episodes of that. And then I also have if you're in home services, I've got my home services podcast. Give me a second. I'll pull that up. And so if you're in home services, this is a great podcast it's a little bit newer, but we're continually putting out content. Again, if you're in home services, one of the things I'm super proud of, I was just on Tommy Mello's podcast. It was a great podcast. Um, if you're interested in listening to that, he gives, I've learned so much from him, and it's pretty cool to have been on a mentor's, podcast. But you can listen to that here. That's here in the chat. Um, and if you're interested in, owning a franchise in home services, this is our website. If you want to fill out a form and learn more about Voda, you can do that here, myvodafranchise.com. And then finally, if you don't know me, if you're on platforms and we're connected on, Instagram, and you want to connect on a different platform, let's say on LinkedIn, let me give you my LinkedIn link. Oh, look at that. We're live over here. Here's my LinkedIn link. And then finally, Instagram. If you're connected with me on LinkedIn and you want to be on Instagram, um, maybe we're going to skip Instagram. Give me a second. I think I got it over here. Oh, you know what? I don't think I can do, let's see, Instagram. I'm putting out a lot of content on Instagram lately around owning your own business. So if you're interested in that, you can go to my profile, which I'm going to put in here now. Yeah. And thank you for taking a little time to learn about owning your own business in the home services space and how to scale. I'm Dan Claps. I help people start and scale home service businesses. I'll continue to be putting out content. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.